Picture this. It's just before dawn. You're sitting on a flat rock outside a small cluster of huts, and there's a little fire crackling beside you. The air smells like smoke and damp grass. Someone hands you a piece of meat from the night before, half cooked, half cold, and a handful of small bitter berries. That's breakfast. No coffee, no bread, no salt, just whatever you and your group managed to find yesterday. Now imagine doing that every single day for your whole life. That was breakfast for your ancestors for about 200,000 years. And honestly, what they actually ate is nothing like what most people think. When you hear ancient humans, your brain probably jumps to cavemen tearing into a giant slab of mammoth. Or maybe you've heard about the Paleo diet, and you think it was all meat, all the time. The truth is way stranger, way more varied, and way more interesting than that. So let's go back. Let's really go back, and let's talk about what people actually ate for most of human history. Start with the hunter-gatherers, the people who lived before farming. We're talking tens of thousands of years ago, all the way up to about 12,000 years ago in most places. If you ask most people, they'll say these humans were big meat eaters, hunters, spear throwers. And yes, they did hunt. But here's what the bone evidence, the tooth wear, and the old campsites actually show. Most of what they ate wasn't meat at all. It was plants. Lots and lots of plants. We're talking roots dug up from the ground, wild greens so bitter you'd probably spit them out today, tubers that had to be roasted for hours just to be edible, seeds, nuts, fruits when they were in season, mushrooms, tree bark in hard winters, even certain kinds of grass. Anything that grew and didn't poison you, they tried it. And someone in your group had probably memorized hundreds of plants and exactly when each one was ready to eat. Meat happened, sure, but not every day. Hunting was hard. You'd go out for hours, sometimes days, and come back with nothing. So when a hunt actually worked, the whole group ate together. And they ate everything. Not just the muscle meat we buy at the store today. They ate the organs, the bone marrow, the fat, the brain, even the eyes. The fat especially was treasured. They needed every calorie they could get. And one more thing that might surprise you. They ate a lot of bugs. Grasshoppers, grubs, termites, beetles, ant eggs. Insects were everywhere, easy to catch, and packed with protein. Today most of us would gag at the thought. Back then, it was just food. So the next time someone tells you about the paleo diet, remember this. The real one would have had a handful of crickets on the side. Then something changed. About 12,000 years ago, in a few different parts of the world at roughly the same time, people stopped wandering and started planting. This is the moment everything shifted. Farming. The Neolithic Revolution, if you want the fancy name. But what really happened is people figured out that if you save some seeds, put them in the dirt on purpose, and come back later, you get more food in one place than you could ever gather by walking around. And the diet got way smaller. That's the surprising part. You'd think farming meant more food, more variety, more everything, but it actually meant less variety. Suddenly, instead of eating 200 different wild plants across the seasons, people were eating mostly one or two crops: wheat, barley, rice in Asia, corn in the Americas, whatever grew well in their patch of land. And those crops became almost everything they ate: bread, porridge, some version of mush in a bowl, day after day after day. Scientists who study old skeletons can actually see the moment this happened. The bones get shorter, people got smaller, their teeth got worse from all the starch. They started getting diseases they never had before, because the new diet, while it filled bellies, was missing a lot of what their bodies used to get. So yes, farming gave us cities, and everything that came with them. But the people who started farming actually had a worse diet than the ones who came before them. That's just true. They traded variety for reliability, and their bodies paid the price. Now let's jump to ancient Egypt. About 5,000 years ago, the pyramids are going up. The Nile is doing its yearly flood. And what is everyone eating? Bread and beer. Mostly bread and beer. I'm not kidding. The Egyptians were obsessed with bread. They made dozens of different kinds. Round ones, flat ones, sweet ones shaped like animals, ones with figs baked in, ones with honey, ones that were basically just dry crackers for traveling. If you worked on the pyramids, you got paid in bread and beer. That was your salary. And the beer was nothing like beer today. It was thick, kind of soupy, low in alcohol, and people of all ages drank it. Children drank it. It was safer than river water, and it had calories, so it was basically liquid food. A worker might drink 3 or 4 big jugs a day and not even feel buzzed. But they ate other stuff too. Onions and garlic by the truckload. The workers building the pyramids ate so much garlic that ancient writers complained about how the whole worksite smelled. They ate dates, figs, melons, cucumbers, lettuce, lentils, beans. If you were rich, you ate goose, duck, beef on special days, and fish from the Nile. If you were poor, you mostly stuck to the bread, the onions, and the beer. And one fun fact. The Egyptians thought that some foods were sacred and others were disgusting. Pigs were considered unclean. Beans were avoided by priests. Cabbage was used as a hangover cure. They were already weirdly opinionated about food, just like us. Cross the Mediterranean to ancient Greece and Rome. New people, new tastes, but a lot of the same starches. The Greeks lived on what they called the Mediterranean trio: bread, olive oil, wine. Everything else was kind of an extra. They'd have some cheese, some olives, some fish if they lived near the coast, a handful of figs, maybe some honey. Vegetables were eaten, but not the way we eat them today. Most meals were small. The Greeks ate to live, and they thought it was rude to eat too much. The Romans were a different story. The rich Romans went absolutely wild with food. We're talking dinner parties that lasted 6 hours. Whole roasted pigs stuffed with sausages stuffed with other animals. Stuffed dormice rolled in honey. Flamingo tongues. Sea urchins. Peacock brains. They had a saying that a good host should leave guests barely able to walk home. But that was the rich. Most Romans ate something much simpler. A kind of thick porridge made of wheat or barley, called pulse. They ate it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, sometimes for years. Add some olive oil, maybe a piece of cheese, maybe a few vegetables, and that was the whole meal. And here's the weird one. Almost every Roman meal had a sauce called garum. It was made by taking fish, salting them, and letting them rot in the sun for months, until they turned into a brown liquid. They poured it on everything: meat, vegetables, bread, even sweet dishes sometimes. Modern scientists who've tried to recreate it say it actually tastes pretty good, kind of like a strong fish sauce you'd find in some Asian cooking today. The Romans put it on everything because to them, food without garum was just sad. Skip ahead 1,000 years or so. We're in medieval Europe now. And what's everyone eating? Porridge, soup, bread. Repeat. For most people, a typical meal was a bowl of something called pottage. Picture a thick stew made of whatever you had. Grains, beans, a few vegetables, maybe a tiny bit of meat or bacon fat for flavor on a good day. It cooked all day over the fire, and you'd ladle some out whenever you were hungry. The same pot might keep going for a week, with new stuff added every day. If you were rich, you ate meat. A lot of meat. Roasted, baked, in pies, in pastries. Medieval rich people loved to show off their wealth by eating animals that were hard to get. Swans, peacocks, whole roasted boars. They covered everything in spices, partly because spices were a status symbol, and partly because the meat was often a little past its best. That's actually one of the big myths people get wrong about medieval food. We always hear that spices were used to hide spoiled meat. But really, spices were used because they were expensive. If you could afford pepper, cinnamon, ginger, and cloves all in one dish, you were basically wearing your bank account on your plate. And the poor? The poor lived on grains and beans and whatever they could grow. A medieval peasant might eat the same bowl of mush for breakfast and dinner every day of their life. That sounds rough. But it kept them alive, and most of the time it was enough. Here's something most people never think about. For almost all of human history, no one had a fridge. No one had a stove with a dial. No one could just go to the store. Food meant work. Most of what people ate had to be preserved somehow. Drying, smoking, salting, pickling, fermenting. Almost every culture in the world figured out how to keep food from going bad, because if you didn't, you'd starve in the winter. And nothing got wasted. Bones became broth. Fat became candles or soap. Skins became leather. Even the parts we throw away today, like organ meats, were treasured. Ancient and medieval cooks treated every scrap like it mattered, because it did. Also, almost no one had sugar. Honey was the main sweetener for most of history, and even that was rare and expensive. The taste buds of ancient people were used to bitter greens, sour fermented foods, fatty meats, and starchy mush. If you brought a modern candy bar to ancient Rome, it would have blown people's minds. They'd never tasted anything that sweet in their lives. And one more thing, people ate together. Almost always. Eating alone, the way so many of us do now with food in front of a screen, would have seemed strange and sad to almost everyone in history. Meals were the moment when the family, the village, the whole group came back together. The food itself mattered, but the gathering around it mattered more. When you look at all of this together, you start to notice something. Humans have eaten almost everything you can imagine. Bugs, bark, rotting fish sauce, whale fat, boiled grains, sacred onions, status peacocks, cricket protein, beer for breakfast. The food changed every few thousand years, depending on where people lived and what they could grow or catch. But the thing underneath it never changed. People ate to stay alive. People shared what they had. People made meals into moments. And the diets we think of as ancient or natural, or the way humans were meant to eat, mostly aren't what ancient humans actually ate. The truth is much messier, much more local, and much more human. There was no one ancient diet. There were thousands of them. Each one a story about a group of people figuring out, day by day, how to fill a stomach with whatever the land gave them. So the next time you sit down for a meal, think about this for a second. You're holding food that would have looked like magic to almost every human who came before you. Fresh fruit in winter, meat that's safe to eat days after it was killed, bread that doesn't go stale, sugar in every drink, spices on every shelf. Your ancestors spent their whole lives chasing what you can now buy in 5 minutes. And if you ever feel a little bored with your dinner, remember the worker in ancient Egypt who ate the same bread and onions for 40 years and was probably grateful for every bite. That's the thing about food. It's never really been about the food.